You're listening to the Begin Within Health Show with Nate Slager. For more, go to beginwithin.fit/podcast, or to enroll right now in our flagship coaching program, go to beginwithin.fit/coaching. I'm just too busy. I don't have enough money. Do those things sound familiar to you? You may have said them at one point or another in your life. I know I certainly have. And I also know that those resources, or a lack of those resources, or maybe just a lack of resources in general, is what holds so many of us back from making choices that will take us in the direction that we want to go when it comes to health improvement and a higher quality of life and fitness. A lack of resources. And, we've talked before on the show about what we might call the victim mindset. This is the idea, the approach to life, the approach that I'm just stuck here. There's nothing I can do to get out of this. Everything is set up against me to cause me to fail. And very often, that's what's behind this idea of I just don't have the resources. I would love to work out, but I don't have the time to do it. I just don't. I'm just too busy. Or I would love to invest in a program, a coach, a trainer, whatever, to help me, but I just don't have the resources for it. There was an interesting episode we did a while back. If this is resonating with you, go check out episode 173 if you haven't listened to it. My interview with Sherry Shaban. Very interesting as we talked there about her dealing with the victim mindset and how it was showing up and how she recommends that we work to get around it. I want to share something with you today, a bit of a workshop, a bit of an activity that we could do together to help us to break out of this. Sometimes when we're in a very emotional state, like we are when someone suggests that we use some time or we use some money or some other resource to allocate it to getting something better for ourselves, we get very defensive, we get very emotional. What I have found sometimes helps for some of us is to have a logical response. If we fight emotion with emotion, it rarely works, but at times, just some simple logic can create a bit of a change for us. It can create a shift. It could at least give us a little slap in the face, just to pause and say, oh man, maybe I didn't have it right. So instead of fighting emotion with emotion, today, what we are going to do is use some logic together. I'll take you on a little bit of a journey. This is an exercise that I learned from a mentor of mine years ago, and I've used it many times on myself. I have used it to help more people than I could even count, honestly, in order to help them take some positive steps toward taking better care of themselves. And I'm going to share it with you today. How does that sound? So I want to invite you to slow down, get a pen and paper if you can, or you could use your notes app on the phone. I love to write. I love to scribble on a piece of paper when I'm doing activities like this. But and if you're doing other things and you're just listening, that's fine. I would invite you to get a sense for the framework. This is something that you can sit down and do later on your own very easily once you hear how I break it down. You're not going to need to probably even come back and listen to the episode, but if you want to listen to it again as you go through the process, definitely do. But the actual activity, the actual work, the pen and paper stuff doesn't really take too long once you understand the bigger picture and the bigger principle behind this activity. Where I start with this is taking a look at a quote that is accredited to Aristotle. It's saying he's the one who did this. Now, I've read, you know, I've gone down lots of rabbit holes about quotes, who they're attributed to, and did they really say it? Can we prove it? I don't know. I'm not here to debate that. That's probably another show entirely. But here's the quote. See if you agree with this. We are the sum of our actions. We are the sum of our actions. You and me, we are the sum of our past actions up until this moment. Would you agree with that? I think we all would. Certainly, there are other factors that are outside of our control, but let's just talk about what the things that we can control, right? Our actions, who we are, who we really are, is the sum of our actions. What do we learn from that? We learn this: action, taking an action, is an investment in a future reality. Anything we do is going to get us a result, in other words, right? Any action we take is going to create a reaction. It's going to create a result in our life. And so that quote really highlights the importance of habits. But for today, I just want you to focus on action. We are the sum of our actions. So what this means, action is an investment. It means that whatever we have today, especially when we focus on health and fitness, which is why we're here. I know that's why you're here. Whatever we have is the result of prior actions. And so often this makes sense when we think about someone that we might look at and say, oh, that's a healthy person, that's a fit person. We understand that there's actions that person took to get themselves there, to that sum of being healthy, of being fit, whatever, however you want to look at it. We understand that, right? They're working out regularly, they're eating their veggies, maybe they're meal prepping, they're getting lots of sleep, proper hydration, all those things. Actions that got them there. All right, you're still with me. This all makes sense. This is easy. Now, here's the kind of the shift, all right? The big shift that I have really enjoyed helping people to make. And this is where the motivation comes from in this whole process. So far, very logical, right? We got it. All right, so now the logic is here. That means that whatever results we have that we don't want, we can trace back to actions we've taken. And this is interesting because so often we think, oh, in order to be healthy, in order to be fit, I know I have to make different actions. But when it comes to what I have now, what do we often do? We blame genetics, we blame circumstances, and we don't often dig into the fact that there are things we're doing that got us the results we don't want. Still with me? This one's big. This one's big. Because again, let's focus on what we can control. Certainly, though, there are other factors, but those are outside of our control. So let's focus on the actions, right? And so often we think about adding in actions. I've got to start doing this. I've got to start doing the veggies. I got to start doing the workouts. But instead, what we're going to do today, as we continue this conversation, is we are going to look at things we are currently doing that are getting us things we don't want, the results we don't want, which leads us feeling discouraged, unhappy, depressed, whatever the case may be. Okay? Still with me? What actions am I taking on a regular basis that have gotten me here, have gotten me the results I don't want? Let's not worry about the things that we're not doing that, we think we should be doing in order to be healthier and fitter. Let's take a look today at the things we are doing that got us the results we don't want, right? Action is an investment. Today we're just looking at, hey, this is the sum total of my actions, and there are some actions in my life that are getting me things I don't want. Plain and simple. Okay? Now, since we're talking about investments, we're going to talk about the two resources that you and I are so familiar with investing: time and money. Again, we're trying to be as logical as we can here. We're going to bring it down to numbers, the cold, hard facts, the black and white numbers. Make this as logical as we can, right? How do we quantify action? I do this, I do that. How do we quantify it? Because we know the sum result, sum total of our actions, but how do we quantify the input, right? How do we break it down into the smallest chunk we can? Here's what I have found. It's minutes and it's dollars and cents, right? It's minutes and it's dollars. Simple. In fact, I would put it this way to you. If I looked at somebody's, their checking account, their statement, the ins and the outs of the checking account, as well as their calendar, if they put everything, all their activities onto a calendar, like I recommend you do, like we all want to be doing, so that we have some control over our life and some organization, right? Show me the ins and outs of money. Show me where the time is being spent. I could look at those things. I believe I could look at those and I could tell you how this person's doing in terms of health and fitness. Wouldn't you agree? I think any of us could. If we looked at somebody's, again, debits and credits in their bank account, and then we looked at their calendar, just look at those two things together. We could say, hey, I know where these investments of time and money are going. I bet I could give you a good idea of what the results are, what the sum total of these actions are. But we quantify those actions, time and money. All right? So here is the next step. And this is the one that takes a little bit of work. It's going to take some honesty, some sincerity, just being real with yourself. What I want you to do is, number one, let's talk about time. For some reason, that one I found is easier to deal with. Money has an even more emotional response for most of us when we look at money. So let's start with time. We're going to get the ball rolling, and then we'll deal with the money later. Again, we're looking at these two things. These are things we quantify. These are things that we can break it down to a simple number. Say, I'm spending this much time, this much money, and here's the result I'm getting. So let's do it. First thing, we're going to look at time. And what I want to know is, where are you spending your time on a daily and weekly basis? I don't need to go any broader than that. Just days and weeks. Where's time going? That's actually an investment of time that's getting you the result you don't want. Still with me? So I'll give you some examples of what I'm talking about. People say, "Oh, I'm just so busy. I don't have time." Okay, all right, let's slow down. Where's our time going? If you're going to take just the average day for 7 days, Monday through Sunday, where's our time going? Honestly, where's our time? Most people say, "Well, I'm at work. I'm at work." Okay, great. What else are you doing? Well, I'm sleeping. All right. What else are you doing that's getting you a result you're not happy with? What else are you doing? And then that's where typically the thoughts are, well, I'm not doing this. Don't tell me what you're not doing. Tell me what you are doing that's getting you the results you want. Even if it's the thing you're doing that's in the place of the time you wish you were spending at the gym or doing food prep or whatever it is. What are you doing that's getting the results you don't want? Here are some common answers. Netflix, video games, social media, hanging out with friends, going out to the bar, those kinds of things come up as I've had this conversation with people. So what I want you to do, again, please, is take the average day, how much time you're spending doing things that are really, honestly, getting you a result you're not happy with. Whether it be, again, some of those things I mentioned or something else, right? How many, for example, let's just say it's Netflix, okay? How many hours a day are you watching Netflix? And again, I'm not saying you need to take it all away. I'm just interested, right? If we're being honest, is that leaving you with the result that you really, really want, or is it contributing to something else? Well, I'm watching Netflix, I'm eating this, I'm drinking this. It's not getting me in the place I want to be. Okay? So how many hours a day is in Netflix? So if I'm saying it is on average, I'll say 1 hour a day. Maybe less during the week, maybe more during the weekend, and honestly, 1 hour is not the reality of the world that we live in. It's much, much more. Hours and hours a day. So let's just say it's Netflix, it's 1 hour a day, right? Times 365 days a year is 365 hours of time. 365 hours at the end of the year. What do you have to show for it? I don't have anything I'm happy with to show for it, you might say. Okay. And again, we're not saying no Netflix. I'm just saying maybe some of that time should be spent in a healthier pursuit instead of something that leaves you feeling less healthy, less energy, disappointed in yourself, etc. Okay? What I would invite you to do, sorry, again, just being real, be sincere with yourself, is to put the work in to take a look at on a daily basis, and then no more than a week, on average, where am I spending my time that is getting me a result I'm not happy with in the final analysis, in the sum total of looking at these investments? Where are the investments actually getting me something I don't want? I'm investing and I'm getting a result, but I'm not happy with it. Where's that time going? And how much? Because when we add it up, when we tally it up, it has some meaning to us. And we find hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours with individuals where the investment is getting them a result they don't want. And what this helps us to do is to say, there's plenty of time. There's plenty of time then where we can reinvest just some of it into getting a result that is moving us in the right direction. We don't have to reinvest all of it in order to get where we want to go. All right. So that's time. We're going to do the same thing with money. All right. And again, I know this is a very emotional topic, but that can be okay. We're going to just fight it with logic, right? So again, I said if I saw somebody's calendar, I could tell you how they're doing in terms of health and fitness. Now, what about the bank account? What I would invite you to do is just imagine this. Imagine you and I are sitting down. We're just looking at the printout. I know we don't do that anymore, but the actual bank statement printout together, right? We print it out. It's on the table in front of us. Money in, money out. And we're not so interested about money in, right? We got to work. We got to get paid. That's fine. What we're looking at is the money's out. Where are they going? Where are they going? Where are the places listed on that statement where the money's been spent and it's getting a result that you're unhappy with? Because wow, we got to think about redoing that, right? At least saving that stuff instead of spending in a way that leaves us unhappy with health and fitness in the end. So, where is it? Where's the money? Okay, grocery store, right? Okay, great. What percentage of what you spend at the store, the grocery store, is food, stuff, soda, chips, all these things that we know aren't helping us move forward. They're not helping us become the best version of ourselves. What percentage of that grocery bill would you say is that stuff, right? You got to know a little bit, right? What do we spend about on a weekly or a monthly basis, and what percentage of that is stuff that we shouldn't have, right? Tally it up, do the math, and get a dollar amount on that grocery bill. What part of it is things that are making me less healthy, making me less happy? What percentage of it is? Tally it up. And whether you have it for the week, multiply it times 52. If you calculate it for the month, multiply it times 12. All right? How we doing? Still with me? Do the same thing with, Friday night. We go out, we do date night. All right, how much does that cost, right? Just be real. Oh, dinner, drinks. All right, it's about $100 on Friday. And we do that at least once a week. Okay, got it. $100 times 52 weeks, right? Do the math, same thing. And you know the math, that's $5,200, $5,200. And again, I'm not saying you can't have date night. I'm not saying you shouldn't go out to eat. I'm just saying that some of that, $5,200 a year in this example, could be reallocated, should be invested elsewhere in order for you to be confident that you're becoming a better version of yourself instead of having these investments going to places that leave you dissatisfied, unhappy, less healthy. Okay? How are we doing? I want to invite you to do that. Go through the week. Where am I spending money, right? Food, it could be activities, other things that, and we can dig way in, right? If it's Netflix, all right, what am I spending on Netflix, other streaming services, you know, video games, whatever it is. Add it all up. And again, we're not going to take it all away. I'm not saying you should take it all away. I'm just saying when we look at the numbers and we look at these huge totals, and I would love you to multiply it out for a year just to see at the end of the year, here's what I've got. I'm unhappy. I've got this result that I'm not happy with. Here's how I feel about it. And what I did was I spent this much time and this much money, and this is the result. This is the sum of my actions, where I'm at now. And again, where you spend your time and your money, that's up to you. I'm not judging. What I am saying is, if you are not where you want to be in terms of health and fitness, then some of that has to change. Some of it, just some of it. It is going to change if you're going to get a better result, right? The actions have to change. And the way that I would invite you to look at the adjustments then is in the same way. All right. I'll welcome you back. If you put me on pause to do that work, awesome. Nice job. If you got to put me on pause still and then go do the work, go ahead and do it. It just takes a few minutes. But again, it's eye-opening. Sometimes we need a little gentle nudge from a friend. That's what we're doing here. We're trying to give ourselves a nudge to say, hey, this has got to change. The actions have to change in order for us to get a better result. So that down the line, a year from now, we're happy. We're making health improvements. And it's because that healthier version of ourselves is the sum of the new actions, the new ways that we're allocating time and money in our life in order to get a healthier result. Hey, I hope this was beneficial for you. I really do. Like I said, I've gone through this conversation with lots of people. I'm happy to do it. If you want to do it live with me, this conversation, reach out to me on social media. Just let me know. Hey, Nate, I could use a serious talk. I want to walk through it. I'm happy to do so. I'm at Nate Slager. We'll set up an appointment. I'm serious. Me and you in person, on the phone, or on Zoom, and we'll walk through this together. I promise you it will be beneficial and it will create a shift for you in your life. And if you sat down and you did the work on your own, I know what a shift it can create because I've done it myself. It can create a huge shift. And what we're looking for is not to make a huge shift today. What we're looking for is, now that I have all this information, now that I have this knowledge, what is the smallest step I can take right now toward becoming the person I want to be, toward becoming a healthier version of myself? That's the action step that we're after, because we can always come back and then take another one on top of that and another one on top of that. Thanks again for being here with me. I love having deep conversations like this with you. Thanks so much for listening. If there's somebody that you know, maybe it's a family member, as you went through this, you thought, ooh, we got to make some adjustments. Maybe it's somebody who's with you in the time and the money categories, contributing to some of those investments where you're getting a return that you're not happy with. Shoot this over to them and ask them to do it with you, or just so that they understand the concept. Send this episode to them, and I'd love to know what you think. Just overall, go ahead, social media at Nate Slager. Let me know what you think. I want to thank you so much for listening all the way to the end of the episode, for rating and reviewing the show, for sharing it with those you care about, because it helps us to keep this podcast in the top 10% of all podcasts on planet Earth. Thank you so much. I'll talk with you again soon.